Namaste. Today we take up this poem, The Divine Worker. It's a very beautiful poem, I must say. Even before starting, I feel so thrilled. You can, people read the Gita and commentaries, and people say, oh, Aurobindo writes very long sentences, very big things. How are we to read and understand? Sri Aurobindo at places, many places, had literally put a whole ocean in a small little pot. But it's a pot of diamond. And this is what we see in many of these poems, most of these poems. And one such poem is The Divine Worker. So all of us who are working, we start believing that because, let's say, if we are working in a center or an ashram or some place, we are doing divine work. But divine work is done when our inner state is in the right place. We can do the work even given by the divine in a state of ego. We don't become a divine worker then. We may be used by the divine as an instrument. That's a different thing. He can use the most impossible beings as instrument. And the classic example is Napoleon. So as long as Napoleon, there was a time when he was representing the revolution, and he was literally a arm of God striding through Europe. But the day he started saying that I am France, I am the revolution, he was slain, and Aurobindo uses the word Kali slew him. So we don't become divine worker automatically. It's a process, it's a state in which we have to enter. Otherwise, regardless of what people may think, people may say, people are always looking at only surface. Oh, Mataji ka kaam kitna kiya hai. Mataji only knows कितना काम किया है माताजी का और कितना आपने नाम के लिए किया है. Only the Divine Mother knows. Nobody else will know. It's not that you can't do work. In fact, you will do a lot more work. Because now the power which is working through you is infinite. But there has to be a change inside. Then only divine work begins. So Aurobindo speaks of the ordinary Karma Yoga where we are preparing ourselves to enter into that state. A lot of practices of Karma Yoga is to enter into that state. Equanimity, constant remembrance, offering, nishkam karma, freedom from, clinging to results. All these are ways and means by which we enter into the state where we can become divine workers. And when we become divine workers, the divine force, peace, light flows through us. So here it is that state which is being described of a divine worker. Not the process, but the state. And that is so wonderful. But process is implicit in it. I mean, you have to go through the same process, but then he has already reached that point. And what is that point? First thing required for divine work is equanimity. Equanimity. It has to be drilled into head, body, mind, heart, everywhere. Every time there is a physical event which we don't like, equanimity. Every time we are emotionally hurt, equanimity. Every time physical conditions are difficult or pleasant, क्या मजा रहा है आपका AC कितना अच्छा है. Oh, how hot it is. How much is the temperature of Pondicherry going on? Equanimity. So equanimity is not blurring out differences. It doesn't mean Karela equanimity and Rasgulla equanimity, so you don't know the difference. That's not equanimity. Aurobindo says equanimity is not a blurring out differences, but the ability to receive everything with an equal consciousness. You know the differences of taste, of texture, of everything inside, but you receive it with an equal mind, and therefore we go into that state of Samam Brahman. So this is the step. I face earth's happenings with an equal soul. So when we say, when will Corona end? We have deviated from equanimity. When we say, I don't think supramental world will manifest. Of course, that is stupidity, not only deviation from equanimity, as if we know about future. We don't know what's going to happen to our life next day. But this is deviation from equanimity. Equal soul, that's the minimum. I face earth's happenings with an equal soul. In all are heard thy steps to see the divine in everything, behind everything. This is yoga, not based on my likes and dislikes. The whole world runs by my likes and dislikes. Then what is the difference? Then one is leading an ordinary life. One may be doing apparently a work which people may think you are doing God's work, but it's not God's work. So I face earth's happenings with an equal soul. In all are heard thy steps, thy unseen feet tread destiny's pathways in my front. Life's whole tremendous theorem is thou complete. What is destiny? We can look at it in different ways. One is it's my karma. So, and that too, my karma, that karma, destiny is seen in completely fragmented ways. But destiny is not like that. Your karma has impact upon the whole creation. Everybody is interconnected in the chain of destiny. And the second thing is, you can look at it, what is destiny? It is truth working out in ignorance. You can look at destiny as the divine manifesting through the play of time. So many ways of looking at destiny. How does the divine worker look at it? It is the divine who is manifesting himself in this play of time. How does an ignorant person look at it? मेरा bad luck खराब है. Or doubly ignorant because of this person. But the wise one are tranquil. They know that it's not this person, that person. It's not luck, chance. It's the divine in everything. In all are heard thy steps, thy unseen feet, destiny's pathways in my front. Whatever happens in life, take it as a grace from God, Mother says, and it will turn out to be so. Anything, even the greatest disaster, take it as a grace. We read yesterday in Gems, no? Digging a tunnel through emergency. So tread destiny's pathways in my front. Life's whole tremendous theorem is thou complete. Why we cannot see? Because we are seeing only linearly. Cause and effect, immediate. But the divine sees the totality. So life's whole tremendous theorem is thou complete. We are seeing, Arey, mera abhi kitna loss. How that loss is preparing you for a greater gain. We don't know that. When we have that faith, this is faith. So along with equanimity, faith, if we have that faith that everything is there, it's the divine who is manifesting himself in various ways, and he knows in the total vision which we lack what is really good for us, then life will become wonderful. This is the first thing that a divine worker requires. Then what is the second sign? I am doing mother's work, but for Corona I have the guidelines. Why? Because if I fall ill, I'll die. No danger can perturb my spirit's calm. You see Aurobindo's poem where he is going, I sat on a dance behind danger's hoofs, where he is going in that cart, and suddenly, it topples because the wheel has opened, and suddenly he sees the Godhead emerging and holding the reins. Why can't we believe this? Something so simple that the Divine Mother is there with us. What can happen? What power on earth can be more powerful than her? It's the faith which is lacking. And it's not only about illnesses, even about moral defects in nature. People say, oh, I'm a hopeless case, gone case. Actually, you are not passing a judgment on yourself, by the way. You're passing a judgment on divine. Poor fellow will say, you may be hopeless. Mujhe kyun hopeless bana diya? And Aurobindo says, when we pass a judgment even on somebody, we are actually indirectly passing a judgment on the divine. Everybody is in the making. What is there? So, this is the second part. No danger can perturb my spirit's calm. My acts are thine. I do thy works and pass. Some people will say wonderful. Some will say awful. Some people will say, अरे इसके लिए किया. Some others will say बहुत अच्छा किया. Some will say बुरा किया. हाथी होते हैं ना, क्या करता है देखा है? When he walks the road, have you noticed? कान को क्या करता है? हिलाता रहता है. मतलब समझे कहता है सुना अनसुना. That's why the example is कुत्ते भूखे हजार, हाथी चला आपने बाजार. Hathi, but if you observe a hathi, it is really very interesting. On contrary, dogs, they will suddenly become very attentive. If they hear a bark like this, hathi is going mast. Somebody is barking theek, somebody is saying Jai Ganapati, hathi is going. That should be our consciousness. So it says, my acts are thine, I do thy works and pass. What if there is failure? What if there is success? The divine worker is not interested in that. He is only interested in performing the work with all the perfection, beautifully, because it's divine's work. But success and failure. So when people say, oh, now I am having loss, I am doing mother's work, but I am having no sales. Test fail ho gaya. Hai na? So this is where we have to remember. Failure is cradled on thy deathless arm. Look at the image. Failure, he is carrying, on his arms. Then you will see the failure or you will see the arm and you will see him. Failure, one day he will bring success when he wants. Failure is cradled on thy deathless arm. Victory is thy passage, mirrored through fortune's glass. People say, Are, wah. Bismillah Khan ki shehnai, Bismillah Khan ki fook. Don't see all that. Bismillah Khan कहता है किसने बना दिया कि मैं. What is the difference? It's the maker. That's all that one has to see. And actually it doesn't require much, even a deep understanding. If we look at life, all hands, feet, mouth, intelligence, brain, who has made? Did we after birth said, okay, I want this kind of intelligence and start doing it? It made by the maker, nature, or whatever you want to put it. Pride is the most vain thing in life. If one is proud about anything that one is doing, that means it's really vanity, because there is nothing in you which is your own. You may be very intelligent, so you didn't make yourself intelligent. You were born like that. And you were born because of nature. And nature, behind nature is God. So here he says, victory is thy passage mirrored in fortune's glass. That's why wherever there is Krishna, there is victory. That story, at the end everybody says, because of me, because of me. And Barbari, the head, he laughs. He says, both sides Krishna was fighting. And Krishna had already decided the victory. That is the vision he showed to Arjuna. I have decided. You want to be the instrument, you become. Otherwise, I'll fill Bhima and others with that kind of energy. I have my ways. And victory will still come. So when we start thinking ours is the victory, there is a story in Kenupanishad. When all the gods, they have won in Devasur Sangram. And they say, there is victory. So they have a party. I don't know where. But let's imagine Mount Kailash. They have a party. Or Swarga, they have a party. We are the victors. Somras, Sab, And then God says these fellows are going mad. Again they will suffer a defeat at the hands of Asuras because they are becoming mad with pride. So the Eternal appears on the threshold as a Yaksha. Yaksha is a being of the mid-world. You don't know what is his identity. So somebody reports to Indra that, somebody has come at the door. So Indra says, invited or uninvited? He says, no idea. Okay. Agni, go and get idea. So Agni goes, who are you? So he says, who are you? Agni says, you don't know who I am. I am Agni, I can burn everything. Okay, is it? So he picks up a blade of grass, says, burn it please. So Agni rushes with all the force and cannot. Agni is Jat Vedas. Because he has given birth to everything, Jat Vedas. Therefore he can consume it. Because he is the one builder of forms. If you take the Panch Tattvas, the first forms which little bit become stable is Agni. Final stability is with earth. So Agni is Jat Vedas. He says, I know everything. No, it cannot. So he says, I don't know what creature is this. Why you? I'll go. Again the same question, who are you? Who are you? I am Vayu Matrishwan, I can make everything fly. Take this, make it fly, this little blade of grass. He rushes, he cannot make it fly. Naturally, जिसको भगवान ने पकड़ा हुआ है, what can you do to that? And then Indra, okay, let me see. So when Indra goes, he can't even see him, he vanishes. And Indra follows him in the subtle ether, and he whom none can perceive takes the form of the feminine figure of Uma Hemvati. And Indra says, who was the eternal and who are? So she says, eternal had come to you in the form of Yaksha because you thought it is your victory. It is the divine's victory. So failure is also not like divine's failure, but failure is a passage. Failure is not final. And victory too is a passage. And both are give it to the divine. If we get into this habit, but we can do that only if we can't say that success, I'm good. When failure, circumstances, people, God. So this is the approach. Failure is cradled on thy deathless arm. Victory is thy passage mirrored in fortune's glass. In this rude combat with the fate of man, divine worker has not come to anything personal in his life. Oh, how will my family be looked after? How will my country? None of these are important. Family, country, all these are extended egoism. My community, I am doing service to the community. Aurobindo said that is another kind of ego, collective ego, and it's dangerous. Some people get into that community service. Nothing. The divine workers are only serving the divine. Wherever, in whatever way. It took me time when I had read it in Human Cycle about the collective ego. I was very bit shaken. Because this is how we operate, no? But suddenly you realize nothing else matters but the divine. So, what does he work for? In this rude combat with the fate of man. Thy smile within my heart makes all my strength. It doesn't come from this person, that person, this appreciation. Often people say, nobody appreciates me. You're lucky. It means your work is such. Two kinds of people are not appreciated. One whose work is high above everything, because human beings see Aurobindo, so much time people have taken to even appreciate him. Why? Because it's easy to appreciate a little fire or a torchlight. How do you appreciate the star which is burning with all its splendor in far away galaxies, and yet its light is reaching to earth? Can't even see, and yet it is illumining the earth. So that is how he says that in this rude combat with the fate of man, thy smile within my heart makes all my strength. This is the sure short cure of depression. Whenever you feel disheartened in life, contemplate the mother's smile. In the heart or outside. When we commit stupidities, think she must be smiling. Mera bachcha. When others commit stupidities, again she is smiling. In all conditions, when you have failed, you rush to the mother. Do you think mother will say, "Kya socha tha tune? Fail ho ke aayega?" Mother will laugh and smile, take you in her lap and say, my child, you will forget everything. She knows it's her play. She will never, she never condemns. She knows it's her play. She has decided. We think that it is me or we, but it is only he. So, thy smile within my heart makes all my strength. Just to contemplate on this line is wonder. Thy force in me labors at its grandiose plan. I am not the worker. I am not even the instrument. It is the master who is doing everything. First we are identified with the instrument. Then we are identified with the worker. Then you realize it's not me, it is nature. And who stands behind nature? It's the conscious force. And then you realize that basically master is doing everything. So thy force in me labors at its grandiose plan. It's his plan. Indifferent to the time snake's crawling length. Divine worker he has no business with in my lifetime I want to see. Why you want to set time limits to God? 10,000 years we will not live to see. Then you have to remind, by the way, you believe in rebirth, no? Who is this we who will not live to see? And second, how does it matter? Have the joy of service. 1,000 years, 10,000 years. When you live in that vastness, it is He who is working. He will decide when the time is ready. 6 pralayas have happened. What does it matter? If you look at it like that, indifferent to the time snake's crawling length. Who is the time snake? What an image of Vishnu sleeping on Anant. Anant is endless time. And as he raises his hood, earths appear, new earths, sublimer earth. That is the image. But who is sleeping? At whose command is he raising his hood? He who is sheltered within him. Within time is the timeless. Vishnu sleeping on his celestial couch. So who is watching the play? Lakshmi. Harmonizing everything. That is the play. Shiva is in trance. Who is watching the play? Parvati. See? Vishnu Bhagavan is sleeping. Who is watching the play? Goddess Lakshmi, because she has to harmonize whatever he is bringing out. She is the goddess of harmony and love. She has to immediately, bring all of them together. Worlds after worlds are emerging from his sleep. See, these images are so beautiful. Now we have forgotten, to connect with that. They throw you into a vastness. I remember reading as a child that earth is on the top of Seshnaga. I said, this is so wonderful. Earth is a small little chinna vinna thing on Seshnag and Vishnu. What is there to bother after that? Indifferent to the time snake's crawling length. No power can slay my soul. It lives in thee. Thy presence is my immortality. We can also say, no power can slay my soul. It is secure in thee. Thy presence is my security. No power can slay my soul. It lives in thee. Thy presence is my immortality. So we just read this poem and stop. The divine worker. I face earth's happenings with an equal soul. In all are heard thy steps, thy unseen feet tread destiny's pathways in my front. Life's whole tremendous theorem is thou complete. Perfect example is Aurobindo. No danger can perturb my spirit's calm. You see him in that, when the British government is, where he could be hanged. And look at Aurobindo's picture there. Absolutely unperturbed. What's going to happen tomorrow? What may happen? Completely surrendered in that state. My acts are thine. I do thy works and pass. Failure is cradled on thy deathless arm. Victory is thy passage mirrored in fortune's glass. When someone asks Aurobindo, failure and the divine, he says, what if failure suits him best? Divine is not like this ways of. Divine may use everything for his incalculable purposes because he knows all failures are temporary. All successes are temporary. Very often, Mother says, successes of the ego are failures of the soul. So we don't understand that way. So what if the passage is through failure towards a greater victory? Look at Pandava's life. So this way, when we look at life, everything changes. And as I said, classic example is Aurobindo. Victory is thy passage mirrored in fortune's glass. In this rude combat with the fate of man, divine worker is fighting only for this. And this rude combat with the fate of man is the essence of, Lok Sangraharth. The divine worker, why does he work? To carry the march of mankind forward. It has nothing to do with feeding the poor and all these things. Evolutionary march of mankind. Therefore, Aurobindo has put it in this way. In this rude combat with the fate of man, thy smile within my heart makes all my strength. This smile is the smile of Krishna, Vishnu. When you see the God smiling, what does it mean? It means that I am going to have the last word. जो करना है कल. When you see that, all the asuras coming and charging, and Krishna is just smiling, or Shiva is just smiling, saying, whatever you may do, I know who can smile. Somebody who is omnipotent can smile. Who knows that it will just need me not even fraction of a moment. So he's playing a game. So smile. Thy smile within my heart makes all my strength. Thy force in me labors at its grandiose plan, indifferent to the time snake's crawling length. Sri Aurobindo, some of the statement when somebody asked him, so sir, supermind will first descend in you. You know what he said? I am born for sadhana, not for siddhi. Prophetic. It was the mother whose presence. You will have to fulfill my yoga of transformation. I am born for sadhana. It is so inspiring. Not for siddhi. And we are hunting after experiences, this, that, here, there. I am born for sadhana. Even if whole life is just effort on the path of the divine, it's so beautiful. No power can slay my soul, it lives in thee. Thy presence is my immortality. Namaste.